Hello everyone and happy Friday. Today is pre-release Friday for Amonkhet, so I thought I would do a video to help you get ready for that. If you haven't already seen my full set limited review, you can check that out too if you have time before the pre-release. But if not, I'm going to tell you the 10 bombiest rares and mythics in the set, or in other words, the card you want most to get in your pre-release seal deck tonight, or if you're watching this later, the best cards to take with pack 1, pick 1 in this format. Now, let's get started. I'm going to start with a couple of honorable mentions. They're both gold cards, so you're not going to want them to show up in your sealed pool nearly as much. These are going to be better, though, in draft, where you can sort of find a way to splash them a little more easily. It's not just based on luck. If you do happen to have fixing and you get these cards, you should play them, because I think both of these cards make the list in terms of raw power. Nissa is ridiculous between her ability to scry and improve your draws, her ability to let you cast spells for free off the top of your library, and the big thing about her, really, is that she's an X-Planeswalker, which means she scales as the game goes on. If you play her on turn 3, when your opponent doesn't have a board at all, you can quickly begin to tick her up and start to take over the game. If you play her late, you can immediately get in for 10 damage in the air with the elementals she makes. Samet, similarly, is insane. For 5 mana, you get a 3/4 with basically every keyword ability ever: Flash, Double Strike, Vigilant, Haste, gives your other creatures haste, and for 1 white mana, if you also happen to be playing that color, you can untap another target creature. Probably the least relevant ability on the card, though it does obviously work well with Exert. All the rest of the cards, what's important, it's an insane card. You can flash it in as a removal spell, basically, to kill things. You can attack with it hard. It has Vigilance, so you can't swing through it very easily either if you're up against one. Samet is incredible, as is Nissa, but you're not going to want them that much in your sealed pool unless your sealed pool happens to be strong in those two colors, or you pick up some Evolving Wilds or something in your sealed pool. Now let's move to the top 10. At number 10, we have Vizier of the Menagerie, which is a pretty insane card. It's only 10th on this list, so it's the least bombiest bomb maybe, but it's still really good. For one thing, it lets you look at the top card of your library. Something cool about this card, as opposed to some other cards like it, is that you actually don't have to show your opponent that card. Most of the time, cards that let you play with the top card of your library make you show your opponent that card too. Your opponent doesn't get information here, only you do. On top of that, you can cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So you sort of expand your hand. And then on top of that, it actually works as fixing, so it can help you play Samet, for example. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. It's also a 4-mana 3/4. It's probably the least impactful of all the cards on this list, but it's the kind of card that will grind you out a win because of all of the extra card advantage it's going to give you. And I like Vizier of the Menagerie a lot for that, especially because its fail case is a 4-mana 3/4. At number 9, I have Gideon of the Trials. I know some of you Gideon fans probably wanted him to be even higher, but this Gideon, while very, very good, obviously it made this list, is not quite as good as some of the other Gideons we've seen. He's not going to take over the game in the same way Gideon Ally of Zendikar did, for example. This is because he doesn't build the board at all. All he can do is prevent damage that target permanent would deal, which is relevant. It can protect himself. You can stop your opponent's best permanent from being able to attack. Worth noting also that it works when you're attacking into it, so you can make an effective blocker not be able to do damage. Additionally, he does the usual Gideon thing by making himself into a human soldier that has indestructible and being able to attack. And the sort of unique thing about this Gideon is that he gets an emblem that makes it so you can't lose the game and your opponent can't win the game as long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker. This sounds really, really good, but there are going to be board states where you just can't play Gideon because it'll die immediately. It'll die very quickly. Only stopping one permanent usually isn't going to be great, and Gideon, again, while great, this card is still great. I'm just trying to tell you why it's only number 9 on this list. Gideon doesn't build your board. He doesn't build you up an advantage over time. He doesn't snowball like most Planeswalkers. He just does one thing, and you have to try to keep him alive to do that one thing that he does, which is very cool, which means, you're just going to win the game eventually. But it's not always going to be easy to do that. You have to be not behind on board, basically, or Gideon isn't going to take over the game for you. At number 8, I have the Gods. The Gods are all really cool. They're all indestructible. They're all huge and powerful. They all ask you to jump through some hoops to make it so they're not basically pacifismed, but they also help you jump through those hoops with their activated abilities. I think Oketra and Bantu are the best because Oketra's activated ability is incredibly strong, just even if that's all you're ever doing with it. And Oketra's requirement is something that'll just happen organically in a lot of games, controlling 3 other creatures. And then Oketra, once it can attack, is very, very difficult to deal with. There's not many creatures in this format who can block it. Same for blocking. It can just block forever and just poop out a bunch of white warrior tokens while your opponent just can't do anything. Bantu, I think, is the next best because he's the easiest to get going. You only have to sacrifice a creature or lose a creature anyway during a turn, and then he can do his stuff. And that's pretty good. His ability is the least impactful probably of all the gods, but it does do something. Scrying and making your opponent lose life and all of that is solid. It's not anything incredibly exciting. And then Ronas, I think, is next. Death Touch is very nice on an indestructible creature. Ronas also doesn't need a lot of help to get going. He just gives another target creature +2/+0. Oh, I should have mentioned on Bantu, by the way, Menace is another reason I like it, because the other gods that are evasive are a little harder to get going, namely Kefnet. Hazaret is fine. It's the best top deck of all of them because you can just slam it and you can attack with it right away if you're in top deck mode, which is not so true of the other gods in most situations. Well, none of them, because none of them have haste, but you know what I mean. It can also effectively just throw lands away and do 2 damage to each opponent. There's discard a card synergies in this format as well that make it even better. So Hazaret's very good. And then Kefnet, finally, I think is the worst, although Kefnet might be the best if you play it on the turn you want to play it, which is turn 3, because the next turn you probably can just attack with Kefnet. But you have to do some sort of silly things and not play a game of Magic the way you normally would to keep Kefnet able to attack, and that's not always an easy thing to do. But they're all good. They're all great. You want them in your sealed pool, and they're also all easy to splash, so keep that in mind. If you get one of them, but it's not in a color you're strong in, but you have an Evolving Wilds and maybe a couple green cards that help you splash a god, because they're all very good. They all do something relevant with their activated abilities, and they are all awesome when they really get going. At number 7, I have Regal Cleric. 5 mana for 7 power and 7 toughness, 4 of which has lifelink, is great. This is the kind of card that gives you so many bodies that it's going to either, if you're behind, get you at parity with your opponent, or maybe even pull you ahead. If you're at parity, push you ahead, and if you're about to win, put the nail in the coffin of your opponent. There are also other cats around, by the way, so you can pump those and give them lifelink, which is nice too. Most of them are in green and white, but I think there's cats in maybe another color as well, maybe in red. I think there is a cat too, but the point is there's cats around. Even alone, Regal Cleric is very good, and it's just the kind of card that really gets you going because it gives you so much board presence with one single card. At number 6, I have Honored Hydra. This thing is a 6/6 trampler for 6, which isn't like, wow, that's an incredible bomb or anything. But this is 2 6/6 tramplers, and that's with one card. Dealing with 1 6/6 trampler is hard enough for your opponent. The fact that you can embalm and get it back for 4 mana is great. Also, if you have some ways of discarding cards, you can have a 6/6 trampler on turn 4 with the embalm. Although most of the time, it's actually probably going to be better to cast it first and then embalm it because you get 2 cards of value that way. But still, it's flexible. You can sometimes embalm it early in the game and have a huge creature. It's a very cool card. You should be very happy if it's in your sealed pool. At number 5, I have Archfiend of Ifnir. A 5 mana 5/4 with flying is a great card already, but he does something insane when you cycle or discard cards, which is put a -1/-1 counter on all of your opponent's creatures. Not just one of them or something. That would be a really good card too, but all of them. So he is insane. Granted, the reason he's at, if like I could count on having a bunch of cards with cycling in my sealed pool every time or whatever, he would be much closer to number 1. But he needs to be a little bit of a build around. He makes cycling cards a little better, and there is a lot of cycling in this format, don't get me wrong. But not all of it's great to play. Most of it's fine or better, but some of it's pretty bad. And if your pool just doesn't have any good cycling in it, Archfiend of Ifnir is just going to be a big flyer, which, again, as a fail case isn't bad, but it's not as bombastic as some of the other cards on this list. And the ability to put counters on everything, though, is insane. And if you can just cycle a bit, it's awesome. And yeah, he has cycling too, but you should probably not be using it on your Archfiend of Ifnir. At number 4, I have Glyph Keeper, another 5 mana flyer with 5 power. This one only has 3 toughness, but it says whenever Glyph Keeper becomes a target of a spell or ability for the first time each turn, counter that spell or ability. And that's pretty awesome. Those words are very strong, and that is because it's not quite hexproof, but it means your opponent has to use 2 cards to kill it. And if that weren't bad enough, in the later game, you can embalm this thing out of your graveyard, and your opponent has to use 2 cards to kill it again. And yes, I realize they're not always going to have to use 2 cards. Sometimes they can just play an ability that targets your Glyph Keeper that'll get countered, and then use another card to kill your Glyph Keeper. But they're still having to do some work. You know, they're having to find a way to kill this thing before it kills them. And a 5/3 flyer who's very difficult to kill is not something you want to be up against, but it is something that you want in your own sealed pool. At number 3, I have Liliana, Death's Majesty. Liliana is pretty awesome. She's better than Gideon, I think, and for 5 mana, she comes with 5 loyalty, which is nice. Her +1 ability is good, and she makes zombie tokens to protect herself, but also stalks the graveyard. That may not sound amazing, but there's Embalm in this format, I guess, and Aftermath in this format. But the reason you want to stock your graveyard, though, is mostly just on Liliana herself. Her -3 ability lets you reanimate creatures. And if you were reanimating some large 6 and 7 drops in this format, which are around, there's playable 6 or 7s in this format, and reanimating those, that's awesome. I mean, most of the time, that's not what you're going to be doing. Most of the time, ticking her up is going to be best, but you'll eventually mill something awesome if your deck has something awesome. And her -7 is nice because it destroys a lot of the board. Your board will mostly be zombies because everything Liliana interacts with, including what she reanimates, including the zombie tokens she makes, are zombies. But your opponent might also have a bunch of zombies too in this format with Embalm and with zombie creatures all over the place in black and white especially. So it's not always going to kill everything. But she's still great. She's an amazing bomb. You should be very happy to have her in your sealed pool or to first pick her. At number 2, I have Angel of Sanctions, which is a 3/4 flying Oblivion Ring for 5 mana, which is very good. It can just win the game on its own in the air after it removes your opponent's biggest bomb from the battlefield. It can deal with anything in this format, including the gods, who are indestructible, but Angel of Sanctions just doesn't care. On top of that, even if they kill it and get their permanent back, if you get 1 more mana than you had to cast Angel of Sanctions in the first place, you can just bring it back and exile the same thing again. And that's pretty awesome when it's on a 3/4 flying body as well that can just win the game on its own. So what is number 1, you ask? Well, number 1 for me is Glorybringer. This is interesting because it means in this list of bombs, we actually managed to include all 5 of Magic's iconic creature types, which are dragons for red, angels for white, sphinxes for blue, hydras for green, and demons for black. I didn't try to make that happen. They just all happen to be really good this time around, and I'm sure Wizards is happy because they keep calling these the iconic creatures, and they're not always all that iconic. I mean, the dragons and the angels usually are, but not the rest don't show up as often. But anyway, Glorybringer is really good. He's part Lightning Dragon and part Flame Tongue Kavu, and I like both of those cards stapled together. A 5 mana 4/4 flying haste is already great and going to put your opponent under a tremendous amount of pressure, but he also has the Exert mechanic. He can make himself unable to tap and just eat your opponent's creatures. He can only do 4 damage, admittedly. It's not going to kill everything. Won't kill your opponent's Glorybringer, because there aren't any other dragons in this set other than Glorybringer. So that non-dragon thing isn't a huge deal. It's not like we're on Tarkir here. But doing 4 damage to most creatures is going to kill them. And additionally, Glorybringer, even if it's not killing something, is smashing your opponent in the face for 4, and they're going to be dead very quickly. So for me, Glorybringer is the biggest bomb in the format, but they're all these bombs are very cool, and they could move around as I get around to playing the format, but they're all very good. And these are the cards you most want to see in your sealed pool, if you're playing sealed, as you will in your pre-release, or the cards you most want to pick with your first pick in a Amonkhet draft. So thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to click the like button. If you want to make sure you catch a lot more limited content related to Amonkhet, don't forget to subscribe. And more top 10s in general as well. Let me know in the comments what you think the biggest bomb is in Amonkhet Limited. And finally, my content is sponsored in part by 5colorcombo.com, a great website for all your Magic needs. You can practice drafting this set, Amonkhet, on an app that they have for both Android and iPhone that allows you to draft wherever you are. Whether you're on a bus or whatever, you can practice drafting, and that's a pretty cool thing to have if you want to get better at this format. So thanks for watching.